Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I will fucking gouge your eyes out if you fuck this up for me.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Whiplash, which released in 2014, written and directed by Damien Chazelle. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Miles Teller's character, Andrew. Andrew is an up-and-coming drum player and is wanting to get on to the biggest band he knows in his college, run by Terence Fletcher, played by J.K. Simmons. But Fletcher's teachings may be too much for Andrew, or it may be the push to get him to where he wants to be.
I'm upset.
Louder!
I'm upset.
Louder!
I'm upset.
So this is actually an indie film with a budget of just around $3 million.
Yeah.
And it almost never happened.
Wow.
This is one of those film scripts that sat around for a while and every studio went, no, don't really want to touch that.
Yeah.
And it was the writer-director who was adamant about getting this made. And he made a short, a 30-minute or 20-minute short of Whiplash, submitted it to Sundance Film Festival, and it won. And then straight after that, loads of offers came in with funding opportunities and offers to make this a full film.
Yeah.
Interestingly, he also had J.K. Simmons in the role in the short as well.
Yeah.
He would, of course, reprise the role, to which J.K. Simmons would even win the Oscar for it. But it's also this writer-director. I've kind of been a fan of his from some of his other works as well.
Yeah.
He was the writer for 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Nice.
He was also the writer for La La Land.
Yeah,
And he also directed First Man as well.
Nice.
So he's a really young director, but seems to be a really talented one as well.
Yeah. I mean, this guy's got a style. Like, I've seen shots of La La Land, which I'm like, that's pretty great for just a low-budget movie that I'd probably never go to actually watch. I still haven't seen 10 Cloverfield Lane. I really
damn it.
probably should.
You probably
I know the guy from, did Prey, he did some of that as well. And I'd avoided this movie. I had seen it, I'd seen the trailer, I'd seen it advertised, I'd seen it get a lot of praise. And I honestly couldn't see the entertainment value of watching a guy get screamed at for 2 hours and drumming.
And jazz music.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's a big proponent to put people off as well.
I like jazz music, kind of, but you got to be in kind of the mood. You got to be in kind of the mood.
Surely jazz should put you in the mood.
Yeah, well,
I know nothing about jazz.
Art's all subjective and decided. And anyway, with Whiplash, like I said, I was just like, no, it's not for me. It's not my film. And then Gary said, hey, it's on the list. And I was like, well, it's that time. I've got to bite the bullet. And you know what? I'm so fucking glad I did. I think I'm going to keep not watching films to then watch them and see how good they are. But Whiplash, oh my God, it's one of those films that if you even like watching things on a screen, you have to see Whiplash. It is phenomenally filmed. It's phenomenally acted. I mean, like we said, J.K. Simmons, off the bat, let's just go with J.K. Simmons. It's fucking J. Jonah Jameson. And I know he's done phenomenally loads of roles, but for me, this guy is J. Jonah Jameson. And I was a bit afraid to actually see him in Whiplash because I was like, I like Jameson, and he's going to scream at me all this time.
Well, I've always said that if you're a fan of the HBO show Oz, then any of the actors from that show that you then see in anything else, you're always going to remember them from there.
Yeah.
And every actor from that show has just gone on to do wonderful, amazing, and have amazing acting careers from it.
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons is no exception here.
Yeah. Miles Teller. Yeah, I mistakenly thought Miles Teller was the guy from Ready Player One. It's not. It's
No.
a completely different guy. But obviously seeing him recently, or seeing him in the trailer recently playing Goose's son in Maverick,
Yeah.
I was like, all right, okay, let's see how this goes. And I mean, with the combination of just simply Miles Teller, J.K. Simmons, and Damien Chazelle in control of this film, you immediately start off with the drums beating, the beat faster. This pretty much for me got me into the movie. Like the way he's playing, this is the anxiety level you kind of have to be at for a lot of this movie. So if you can't take this at the start, yeah, it's no good.
Oh, I think you're right. The opening sequence to this film is masterful in terms of engaging you as the audience into this world and
Yep.
these characters
Yep.
in the most simplistic of ways as well. And it's literally just 2 camera shots for the most part as we are coming in slowly, panning all the way into Andrew, who's playing the drums. So we get the flip shot where we see Fletcher
Yeah.
coming into the classroom and observing the student, obviously catching him off guard
Yeah.
after hours. And the power play, the interplay between these characters is evident from their opening interactions with each other, where he stops playing and he asks him why he stopped playing,
Yeah.
and then he immediately starts playing, and he's like, "Why did you continue to start playing again?"
That wasn't an answer. Yeah.
Exactly. And so you're like, and this is the relationship, and this is the way it starts, and it will escalate from here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we find out that Andrew is an aspiring drummer.
Yeah.
And this is what he wants to do. He's supposed to be in the best school, and he's already intimidated by this prestigious teacher who's not actually even going to be his teacher. He's actually in another classroom to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we get that moment where Fletcher just doors burst open, classroom in silence. Even the other teacher is submissive to Fletcher.
Oh man, yeah.
Just like, okay, take the room, whatever you want. And he starts holding random auditions for his own band.
yeah.
And just before he's about to leave, he's like, "You, Andrew, my classroom tomorrow, 6 a.m.
Yeah.
and don't be late."
Yeah. I mean, we've also had the introduction to Paul Reiser's character who plays Jim Nyman, you know, Andrew's father. And it's weird that there's like a whole back history that you're not aware of, but weirdly enough, you kind of feel like you don't. Like, he has the conversation with Andrew at the cinema, and he's just and Andrew's just like I met him, I've seen him, like, he spoke to me, and you know, his dad's just like, "Oh really, and what did you think?" So they're already aware of Terence Fletcher before we the audience are really, and it's Andrew's goal to get this guy's attention. You know, and I love Paul Reiser. He's so supportive in this role. You know, he's this doting dad. And I was saying to Gary before we turned the camera on, it's like, it's really realistic. You know, it's not Hollywoodized or over the top. It's a genuine, "I love you, son, and I'll support you with whatever you do." Because, like, we learned that, like, his mum left. We don't know why or what.
Well, that's it. Fletcher's quizzing Andrew in the hallway before one of his first
Oh,
classes.
he's
And he
such
starts getting this
cunt.
vital information from
Oh.
him about his dad,
Oh my God.
about his failed music career, about the mum that ran away when he was young. And of course, we're thinking that, I mean, he's putting a smile on Andrew's face.
I knew what he was doing. He's taking all this info, and I'm
He's
like,
building a relationship
don't build
on the
it, Andrew.
surface, but
No.
like you said, he's using this as
Yeah.
ammunition to fire out, you know, amongst swear words
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
Andrew or any
Yeah.
other class members, because he ends up calling another class member gay at one point. You know, he was just like, this is probably coming from the truths of what he's learned from these people.
That's it. He absolutely demoralizes every single person in his band, and he justifies it, especially later on in the movie. Terence Fletcher justifies it by saying, "I'm looking for the best. Need
that's the thing. I mean, that happens more than an hour into the film. It's like the beginning of the third act, where we actually find out the reason why he is the way he is for the whole film. But throughout the whole film, you are also wondering, is this guy just an angry, bitter, resentful, you know, musical failure?
But he.
Or does he have a goal?
But the crazy thing is that's where the weird line of, you know, genius lies, doesn't it? The craziness, you know, he's got this plan, and as long as his plan works, it might not work 90% of the time or 100% of the time, as long as it works at least 90, then he's doing good. I do not believe that Terence Fletcher is in any other position in that school other than prestigious. You know, like we said with the teacher, that he walks into the room, people are submissive to him. He's in charge of the elite group. When he takes his band member to competitions, they win, or his people are spotted and they are taken off. And him and Andrew constantly, you know, they're talking about this other drummer, this other famous drummer that they both know who did really well because his teacher threw a cymbal at the guy's head. You know, and a couple of inches, he'd have been decapitated. But he threw it and it pushed the drummer to become as great as he is. And so that's what I mean. There's a weird, it's like an army military thing. The sergeant screams at you and screams at you because in a death-defying situation, you know, you're going to wish he was there. But you listen and you scream. Andrew, I at one point in the movie, I thought Andrew was buckling to it. And that Terence Fletcher, as I said, my initial opinion of this movie was Fletcher, J.K. Simmons' character, was an absolute fucking cunting asshole throughout this whole movie. And then the movie surprised me because Andrew had been building this relationship with Nicole, Melissa Benoist, I think. And it was beautiful. Oh, it was so well done. He meets her at the cinema. They go out on a date. They have this oh so wonderful, amazing time. We don't know if they sleep together or not. We just see the relationship on top of the stuff with Fletcher and the music and everything's building up. And like I said, anxiety's at this fucking level, people. Okay, I'm not really enjoying my time, but I have to see this through. When he sits her down and Andrew tells her, yeah, you don't want to be with me because I'm going to be drumming. When I'm with you, all I'm thinking about is music. When I'm without you, all I'm doing is music. Well, you're not going to have my time. And if we do hard and if we do try to work on this relationship, you're going to grow to resent me. And he justifies dumping her and them not having a relationship because I want to be great.
I want to be one of the greats.
And I would stop you from doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is the moment in the film where as an audience member you're just like,
You're a cunt!
yes, well, yeah, exactly. You're just like, but I mean, at the same time, you gotta remember that he's 19 years old, okay? So he is bound to make stupid mistakes.
Are you
teenager.
justifying it? Because
No,
that's
I'm,
what we're saying.
I'm giving a rationale. Because yes, what he is doing here is a buffoonish thing to do.
Well, but it makes sense.
Well, of course it makes sense because it's the way he is learning from Fletcher. It's the way he's learning that his obsession needs to consume him.
Yeah.
Anything else is a distraction. On one hand, I also think it's hilarious that we've got Supergirl and Reed Richards sat, in the same room together, and of course J. Jonah Jameson being the overseer of this mess as well. It's fascinating. Oh, the multiverse. But yeah, I also think she was pretty good considering she only in about 10 minutes of the film.
Nothing.
Because every scene in the film follows Andrew, Miles Teller. He is in every single scene in the film. And I think that's pivotal because he is your audience character. He's your surrogate through the story. It's happening to him. And I also think that Miles Teller is often not given as much credit as I think he deserves as a performer, as an actor in this film. Of course, all of the prestigious awards and recognition does go to J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
But Miles Teller is his equal.
Yes.
And he needs to be and have those reactions in order for what J.K. Simmons is doing to actually work, to have that reaction to it. And the rest of the musical classroom also behaves that way, gives him, the room to be this menace, this intimidating figure. Because it wouldn't be as effective if the rest of the classroom were like, no, it's just Fletcher doing his thing.
Yeah.
But I do think it's fascinating that as an audience member, that is the moment in the film where we realize like the boundaries or the line that as you would gauge being able to relate to what's going on in the film, knowing and trying to decide for you where your cross-off line is, what is more valuable to you, your friends, your family, your love, or is it your work, your passion, your project, your wanting to be remembered in history?
But the crazy thing is, I found with this movie, it hits on so many levels of just human nature that that's why you relate on, because you will relate on even the tiniest little bit. And like we said, with the Miles Teller character, it felt for me that at one point he was the weakling, but then when he started to balance with Fletcher, because he wanted Fletcher to scream at him to make him better, and you get that sequence where he's at home, he takes everything out of his room and all he does is put the drum set there and he just keeps playing and playing and playing and playing, and it's still not enough, because we have that other sequence where they're in the music room and fucking, like J.K. Simmons had done this amazing sequence before where he was like, well, somebody's out of tune and he goes through the rank and he fucking destroys everybody that he's looking for this out of tune person. And he even fires one person who's not actually out of tune. But just because he didn't know he was out of tune, that's even worse than being out of tune. I'm like, I totally get it. Yeah.
For the record, Metz wasn't out of tune. You were, Erickson. But he didn't know. And that's bad enough.
But then later on, when you get the drummers, and he's just like, you're not at my level. And so this other boy, Conley, who we'd seen previously in the movie, he's come in. So you've got Andrew, you've got Conley, we've seen before, who's been brought in. And I knew then that Fletcher had done this before. He's done this multiple times. He's gone to classrooms, he's pinched what he's wanted, he's used what he's wanted, and he's thrown it away to get what he's wanted. And then because you've got the third drummer who was there before Andrew turned up, and because none of them are in tune or none of them can keep his tempo, his pace, he makes them sit there and play and play. And like, I'm like, dude, like, if none of them are good, you'd have sent them home. But because he makes them sit there and just keep doing it, it's not the fact that any of them weren't at his tempo. He just needed them to be fucking good.
Well, he does and sets everything up. He is hyper focused on Andrew alone.
Yes.
The other drummers are immaterial to him, and he's using them only to manipulate and mold and shape Andrew into the musician he wants him to be.
Did he take away the book?
Now, that's exactly what he did. Now, there is also a foreshadowing moment to this earlier where one of the first classroom sequences where Fletcher walks into the classroom, he says, if one of you leaves your notes or your book out again, I will fucking destroy you.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. And so there is a sequence where the primary drummer wants Andrew to look after his notes. He's going to the bathroom, but when he comes back, Andrew was distracted, and he turns around and the notes are gone. Maybe the janitor took them. He gets called some horrible, horrible things.
Yeah.
The two of them walk back into Fletcher, who belittles both of them, but ends up, of course, blaming this other student for losing his book.
Yeah.
Which we all know, Fletcher definitely stole that book because
That's
it's
it.
just another setup, another test
To push
for
Andrew
to
into
push
the
him.
seat.
Absolutely, over and over again. Every scenario, every situation has been orchestrated by Fletcher to test and prod and poke and break him to see whether he will walk out the classroom like we've seen the other student do, or whether he's going to grit his teeth, dig deep, and play something special, or play to his fucking tempo, whichever comes first, you know. So, yeah, the rest of the film, we are kind of balancing Andrew's home life with his dad and his family, deciding that, he would rather die at the age of 34, drunk, penniless, of a heroin overdose, but be remembered as a great, than settle for 90-year-old mediocrity in life. And, that's...
That was an eye-opener because, if you don't mind, I balance it with the sequence where we find out about Fletcher, the death in Fletcher's life. Both of them, the situation Andrew had with his family and seeing Fletcher upset and cry and weak, was the realization of who these people were wanting to be. They were both horrible kind of people. They were just kind of doing it at two different angles. The table sequence with the family was just so brilliant, well done. Like, it goes round, and Andrew is kind of picking on the other two boys because they're football players, and he's just like, well, why would I want to be like you? And his dad calls him out on it. And I really felt that because I'm like, oh, Andrew didn't like that. He's going to be running back to his other daddy now to try and get what he, from there. But then when you got J.K. Simmons finding out that one of his ex-students has died recently, and he just, not only is he upset in front of Andrew, and it's an eye-opener for Andrew because Andrew's just like, oh my God, I didn't realise you could actually cry. But the way he treats his class then after that is like, it's a lenient day off. Just take it easy today.
Well, you'd think so until he kicks out the rest of the classroom and focuses the three drummers down for hours and hours in this montage.
But he needed them to play, Gary. They needed to be good.
Well, he did, because it's all building up to this sort of this tournament, this open, this presentation of this music. You know, he tells them all, don't be late. Your setups are here. We're on stage here.
Yeah.
If you're not there, you're not going on. And Andrew's bus breaks down.
I was just like,
And he's just like, hey, is there going to be a taxi? She's like, ain't going to be no taxi.
No.
So he ends up going and renting a car, rushing there. He's on the phone. He's like, tell Fletcher I'll be there. He gets there and Fletcher's like, you're not going on. For one, you haven't got your sheet music. And two, you haven't got your sticks. You ain't got your sticks. You're not going on that seat. You're not playing.
and I felt that. I was like, oh,
I know. And you've got the other drummer there who we've seen, is awful compared to Andrew.
Yeah.
But of course, has been set up to be great just to make Andrew feel like shit. Is there smug, like, yeah, this is my role now, it's going to be mine. And it's, of course, the pressure's on. Andrew races all the way back to where he rented the car, gets his sticks, gets back in the car. He's yelling on the phone, and bang,
Yeah.
he's hit by a truck.
oh man, yeah.
No.
What the hell was that noise?
Okay, look, why don't you just tell Fletcher that I'm coming, you motherfucker?
He climbs out of the wreckage,
he
bloodied,
does.
battered and bruised, ribs broken, blood everywhere, and he
He's
walks
determined.
there. He's determined.
He's
He's
determined.
obsessed.
Yeah.
And he gets there and he sits down in his blood state and starts playing. He starts playing straight away.
Well, trying. Like, I look at his
He
hand and
drops
I'm
it-
like,
he drops the stick.
You can't play it. As soon as he dropped that stick, I felt that because I knew Fletcher was there.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you fucking doing? You know, this is like the big moment. Andrew shouldn't even be there.
He should be in a hospital, right? Like he's like the shock's not even set
But
in yet.
he's determined to prove Fletcher wrong.
Yeah.
I am going to be fucking great with or without you. I don't give a fuck. And in a way, Fletcher kind of is just a bit shocked. Like, all right, but he fucking calls it. He's like, you're done. You're fucking done. And Andrew tries to walk off, and then he turns and he fucking attacks him. And I was like, nah, beat the fuck out of this motherfucker. But I was questioning everything up to that point because like he shouldn't have got out of the car. Like he should have just called it quits before driving there. You know, I kept expecting the crash every second because he was at this level.
Yeah.
The anxiety, the stress, everything, the pressure, everything was just at such a level he was going to implode. And so attacking Fletcher on stage, you know, the whole next bit where he kind of quits the musical college, you know, he abandons his drums, he goes and gets like a job in a coffee shop. His dad finds out about the shit that Fletcher has done, and it's revealed to you the truth now is that the ex-student that we'd heard died in a car crash had actually committed suicide, which, from what we've seen for the film, isn't really unsurprising if you're working under Terence Fletcher, you know. But Andrew doesn't kind of want to do anything because Andrew, Miles Teller's character, believes that, you know, yeah, it makes sense to be great. You need to fucking have this kind of teacher, you know. But he still goes in with the fact that they have Fletcher fired from the school, which I was like, yay! But the film didn't end, and I'm like, oh, okay. And so he goes and he speaks. He tries to ring up his ex Nicole over the phone.
Not just yet. I mean,
he's got to go meet Fletcher
He
first.
first meets Fletcher first.
Oh, such a great sequence.
Not necessarily. I mean, he's walking by and he hears the jazz music. He sees the sign. He sees that it's special guest Terence Fletcher.
Yeah,
and he walks in, and that's the most vulnerable or the meekest we've seen Fletcher at this point.
No, this
small.
This is his moment. This is him.
In
his world.
This is him, small, tucked away, not in the limelight, playing the piano.
I totally thought that, but then at the same time, I'm looking at his band members, and his band members there, they either respect him enough that they just let him do whatever, or he respects them enough that, you know, if they don't keep up with him, but him on that piano, that's... I felt, look, this is his world. And so when Andrew tries to escape, he gets caught in the door.
Yeah.
And he turns around and Fletcher's like, hello, Andrew. And you're like, oh fuck.
Well, time to talk about the reasons why I got kicked out of teaching and lost my job. And Andrew's like, yeah, funny that. Don't know who would have said a bad thing about you.
Yeah.
Gee golly. And just as Andrew's about to leave, Fletcher's like, well, no, actually, I've got this thing at Carnegie Hall. It's kind of a big deal, and my drummer's shit. Want the job?
Yeah.
And Andrew's just like, well, I'll think about it.
Yeah. Like, You need me? Maybe. Yeah.
And so he then does call his ex, and he actually apologizes.
He does, yeah.
That's the main thing. I mean, granted, we have that uncomfortable. I mean, it's a very uncomfortable, awkward phone call where she's like, "Well, I'll have to ask my boyfriend if I can come." And he's just like, well, yeah, I mean, that'd be great. I mean, don't worry. So
we don't know I didn't know how long they'd been. It must have been a couple of months since he'd broken up with her, and then he rings her because it was
there's a subtitle that comes up saying summer.
Yeah. But you don't really know. But that's what I felt when he rings her. I'm like, it's got to be at least a couple of months that you just ring up your ex and go, all right, you want to get together? And she's like, no. But he goes to the hall. You know, he's been practicing, he's been playing, and he goes to the hall. And he sits down, and he's really enjoying the fact that Fletcher seems a lot more meeker in front of this group. You know, he's not so
go out there and have fun.
Yeah, he even talks to the stagehand that comes out. The first one we saw was fucking brilliant. He was going to destroy him. The second one at this end sequence, he's like, yeah, we'll be there in a thing, thank you. And they go out on stage, and Fletcher just turns and goes, I know it was you. And you're like,
oh shit.
And he walks to the microphone and he says, right, everybody, we're going to be playing this song. And everybody has the sheets for it except Andrew,
who just plays out of key, out of time.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassment.
Yeah.
And the small applause at the end is enough to make you die inside.
Yeah.
You know, and Andrew's just humiliated.
It's everything he's been building up for, and Fletcher is just fucking
destroyed it. Shredded it. Shredded it.
And you have that beautiful moment with Paul Reiser, his dad. He's
rushing to him.
He's rushing to it. Like, it's such great camera shot. Like, you hadn't actually seen the dad had just been hidden in the background, you know, not really in the audience. And then all of a sudden we're seeing him rush for the door. So you know he's there to support his son. And Andrew gets off the stage and he walks out and he hugs his dad and they're all upset. And I honestly thought that this was the end of the movie. Like, he could walk out the door now. It's the end. That's it. But Andrew's like, you know what? Fuck this shit. And he goes back out on stage. And Miles Teller, like, I don't know if it was actually Miles Teller playing.
Well, here's the thing. J.K. Simmons comes from an actual musical family.
Right.
So he has a degree in music.
Nice.
Miles Teller was also playing the drums from a very young age.
So is that him in the movie?
All of what you see him on the drums is real.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was actually recorded by his second, the second
right,
drummer.
because there's a couple
is
of
actually
shots,
the musician for
you
the
don't
film.
see his face.
And dubs over all of the music that's in the film. But Miles Teller actually put himself back into music school before the film so that he could do the parts. Now, there are a lot of musicians have said that there's a lot of inconsistencies in the
totally.
film. Like, sometimes J.K. Simmons is talking complete gobbledygook in terms of musical, whatever he's talking, like Star Trek gobbledygook. Like, unless you know it, you don't know it.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other moments like that where musicians like, if you're bleeding profusely from the hands still, it's because your technique is wrong.
Yeah.
Not because you've got blisters because you've got friction sores, it's because your technique is wrong. So there's lots of little things like I don't know that much about music. I know even less about jazz.
Yeah.
And but this film like actually made me appreciate or want to listen to jazz.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Yeah, man. The drumming work, especially this end bit, was so fucking good.
It's like near 5-minute solo.
Yeah.
Now apparently the studio that we're going to distribute this film sent notes to the director saying, we get it, he's a really good fucking drum player, can we cut this scene down? No.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you can, but you're missing the main crux of
it's a musical number.
Yeah.
Like that scene
like,
reverberates on its music.
It's the name of the movie. He's playing the fucking music that the movie's called on, and it's such an intense fucking thing.
It is like Whiplash.
Yeah, it is. And he controls everybody, Andrew, at this point.
He ascends into greatness.
Oh, he does, because he turns to the guy says to him, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, I'll key you in. And so as soon as he keys him in, he's got some bass, and then he's getting some music. And even Fletcher's called back. Like, he was surprised that Andrew came back on the stage. He's even more surprised he's fucking doing this.
It's that moment where Andrew just mouths to him, fuck you.
Yeah.
You're just like,
mate, when he bounced the cymbal off his face, I'm going to gouge out your bung. I was like, oh, man, don't fucking get too close.
I know, it's like, it's electric. It's all
was-
brewing to this moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, you thought the film was over, and then, like, for it to come back. But just like the music in this moment does, where he brings it down, and then he brings it back up
that's it.
again for
He's-
this crescendo.
Because Fletcher's really not knowing what to do. Like, he's caught off. Like, Andrew is playing Whiplash, and he's going to be playing this all on his own, but he needs the rest of the music. And so then it's a case of, I'll cue you in.
Yeah.
And so this is Andrew saying to him, kind of like, you'll play for me, you'll play at my tempo. But there is a bit later on, in the song where, you know, Fletcher comes on, and just a little bit. And he pulls his hand so down, and Fletcher almost, like, Andrew almost stopped. Like, I thought he was trying to stop him because he'd been going. I thought his arms going to come off. And he slows down, and then he's just like, bring it up, and he starts going again, and he starts going again. And then all the music came in, and it just...
Oh, it's beautiful.
It
I mean,
was phenomenal.
like, there's even that moment in there where I think I don't know whether the editor or the where it's framed where we can't see Fletcher's mouth, but we can see it move.
Yeah.
And we know that he whispers to Andrew, "Good job," and you're just like, because that's the thing that he talked about, what he was looking for.
And yeah, and that's what I mean. It's the...
Now-
Carry on, I'll go.
I mean, this ending is one of the strongest film endings I've seen in like the last 15 years or so
Yeah,
of film,
yeah.
where it's so simplistic in its execution, but it says a lot and also leaves a lot open to debate and discussion as to, like, the ending kind of makes you go, yeah, upbeat.
It's a
But-
justification.
But it's a really bad ending. It's a really dark ending because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, the villain wins because he was trying to get Miles Teller, Andrew, on his fucking tempo the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's literally controlling Andrew at the end.
But that-
on his tempo, he has broken the student into ascending
but-
and becoming great. So he achieved his mission.
But Andrew was wanting it.
Yes, I know Andrew was wanting it.
He wanted
but-
it from the start.
but
That's
the
thing.
person, the one that committed suicide, he probably wanted it too.
But-
now, this
Yeah,
is the thing that
yeah.
the director has said. Like, this is, I mean, I will say now, if you are a fan of this film, your ending, your interpretation of this ending is absolutely your own.
Yeah, totally.
Whatever you are in life, you know, you can make different observations. It's something worth talking about. But I will say that what the director said of the ending of this film is that it is a bittersweet tragedy, because Miles Teller's character Andrew will be dead by the age of 34, drunk, penniless, and died of an overdose, friendless.
Okay.
Because that is what he has chosen at
That's
the end of
his
this film.
path, yeah.
And that is what the director said. That's what he envisioned, because the director said when he was in music school and he had a teacher just like that, he walked out the door. And this film is kind of what he imagines would have been a what if I'd stayed and stuck to wanting to do music. Now, there's other angles to interpret this ending as well. Like, now, how did you interpret Paul Reiser, the dad, watching on as Andrew, you know, is playing one of the greatest drum solos ever?
I felt like his dad character was proud, but also kind of scared. Because, you know, it's an obsession. It's Andrew's obsession. It's completely enveloped his life. He was going to do this with Terence Fletcher there or not. He was going to push all the family members out of the way and do it. A lot of musicians do, a lot of artists do. And so, yeah, I get the bittersweet ending kind of, you know, analogy. And I get that a lot of people might think that's really bad. For me, like I said, I ended the movie, the level was here. And by the end of the movie, the level was still there, but I felt better about myself, because it's a crazy idea that I've always felt the same. The more you can push yourself to do something, the better you will be at it. More practice makes perfect. But don't fucking kill yourself over it. I mean, Jesus, sorry. You know, like, if it gets that far, like, you know, you have a problem, but you have to address your problem. Andrew's way of addressing his problem was not walking away and going back on stage. And Paul Reiser's character probably feels like he has been replaced as a father figure as well, because for Fletcher, maybe that's the case, because sometimes at some point through the movie, I felt like Andrew needed somebody to kick him in the ass, or he wanted somebody to kick him in the ass, because his dad was rich, got him into a good school, he was playing in a band, and his life was literally just going to go. But he didn't want that. He wanted to be great.
Yeah, and that is the look that that his dad is giving. I mean, in the script it says, he's lost his son. Essentially, that's what he's trying to convey.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, obviously, there's like this huge gulf distance between them at that moment as well, from the hug that they just shared to now this, where he's on this pedestal ascending to greatness, and he's just looking on through a cracked doorway that's about to be closed on him, probably for good.
Well, but that's the director's accepted ending. I can make it up in my head that Miles walked off, Andrew walked off the stage, fucking high-fived his dad. His dad's like, hey, Terrence. Terrence is like, hey, man, should we go out for a beer? And they went out for beers.
And then they go and record a studio album together.
They made a studio
Christmas
album.
#1.
Fletcher got his job back up at the school. Rise became rich. Fucking Andrew became rich. Everyone was rich by then. Happy ending.
Well, Ian, what were your favourite or memorable scenes?
Oh, man, there are just so many in this movie. I mean, a lot of them can just be just camera angles. A lot of them can just be the musical pieces. When we said, obviously, Andrew had to go there at 6 o'clock in the morning. He's actually wakes up late. He rushes there and realizes he's 3 hours early. It's like, fuck you, Fletcher. And then Fletcher walks in and starts calling him the squeaker because he's the new guy and everybody's kind of judging him. I'm upset. Louder! I'm upset! Louder! Oh my God, it was so intense. It was just so crazy. I felt for Miles Teller then, because you at least once in your life you've been in that position where somebody has shouted down to you and just treated you and belittled you in front of everybody. But at the same time, like, part of me was just like, just fucking punch him. Just fucking punch him, The Overbrook music festival competition, and Fletcher's he shouts at that stagehand and he's just like, I can still fucking feel you looking at me, mini-me. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I got a theory as well. That mini-me was the one that Fletcher sent out to steal the book, and he was trying to bring it back to him. And said, I've got the sheet music that you asked me to go get.
Yeah. The table family scene, I mean, it was just so well done. Just this family trying to talk. And you've had families do that where Andrew's out of place. Was that Paul Reiser's sister, character?
I think it's his second wife, maybe? Stepmom, maybe? I don't know.
No.
Or it's the wife of his brother.
Yeah, because that was it. Because you had the dad at the other table, so I thought that was the brother, and that was just a family meeting. But they're bigging up their sons, and Andrew, and it's really, I don't think it's intentional, but it's really well done that Andrew goes to talk, and he's then interrupted, and he immediately goes quiet. So I know you can have quiet, meek characters. But a quiet, meek character will probably never be great, and that's what Andrew wants to be. So that's why this table scene reverses,
it's a scene,
and he belittles every single one of them.
Like at the cinema when they're sat there and somebody walks past and bashes into the back of Paul Reiser's head.
Yeah.
And he's the one to turn around to that person and apologise.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're just like, no, it should have been that person apologising to you. He smacked. But yeah, that sets up who these characters are, and just little moments like that as well.
Little moments, yeah.
So that you see it.
Andrew dumping Nicole. My heart broke for that girl when he was there. And he was just doing it so, it wasn't like it was even cold-hearted. He had reasons. Like, I don't want to say it was justified, but he had reasons, and he knew that, and I knew that as an audience member, that if they continued together, he was going to break her heart. She was going to get upset. She was going to be left at the side. I mean, Jesus Christ, have you seen the Johnny Cash fucking story? I mean, he goes through like 2 wives, and Miles Teller, Andrew's character, was just like, I don't want that for you. You're such a nice person, but where I'm going, there are no roads, kind of. Drumming the insults, him just going one after another, replacing them on the drum because they are just not playing hard enough. Seeing the rest of the band members, like, he tells them, like, go off, we're going to be 5, 10, 15 minutes, maybe an hour. Just go off, because I need to fucking drum these guys into it. And you're like, I'd be gone, I want to say I'd stay there, but only if I was at Andrew's level of obsession to be as great or good as I think I should be, would I stay in that fucking room that whole time and just have him on me? And the final sequence, I mean, probably from the moment Fletcher says to him, I know it was you. And including the whole fuck up sequence and then Andrew going off and then coming back up on stage, and particularly that point where he whacks that fucking symbol in his face and crunches him, and it's just like a battle.
There are so many emotional highs and payoffs, aren't there?
Yeah, it's just like a battle, good guy versus bad guy, but who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, and everything builds up, and then it's just music.
Yeah. I mean, this film is like a horror movie in so many ways. It
Yeah,
really does build
yeah,
that
it's dark
tension
as
so
fuck.
much. But this is a wonderful film, and it's a favorite scene from start to finish. It really, really is. But just to name a couple of moments, I really liked the moment where Fletcher, we could see the shadow, the silhouette of him in the glass, listening in to Andrew's lesson. And then the moment where Andrew is looking in at Fletcher's class and Fletcher catches him looking and he sneaks when he's hiding. I was like, these are just great character moments. They're just quick moments that just give you insight into who these characters are in this world.
Yeah.
It's really effective. Really simple, but very effective. I really liked just Andrew going to cinema with his dad. You know, just watching movies, sharing popcorn, sharing chocolate.
Oh, man.
It's just sweet. Just very sweet. Paul Reiser's become this like really sweet old dad in a lot of stuff lately.
Oh, he was always sweet.
He was always an asshole. No, wait, that was the other guy.
That was the other guy. That's his brother.
Yeah. Fletcher just bursting in the doors of that other classroom. Just such character, just such presence.
The finger on the page, just like,
Yeah.
oh man,
Just
meticulous,
great.
yeah.
The fear and the intimidation that he gives is fantastic. The scene with Nicole on the date, again, just great little breather, a moment away from everything that we've you know, been built up, in a moment to just get a bit more insight into Andrew. And yeah, it's such a sweet relationship that's why I think we also feel it when he breaks up with her in a few scenes from there.
Yeah.
It's a sequence that makes me laugh because I've seen this film like maybe 10 times already. It's a sequence that makes me laugh, and it's I call it the disappearing guitarist.
The disappearing guitarist,
Yeah,
okay.
he's there in one shot, and in the very next shot he's gone. And I think it's because he knows that Fletcher has a habit of throwing things around his music room. And it's the scene where he throws the chair at Andrew. And of course, in the scene before, you'll see the guitarist there.
Yeah.
And on the scene when the chair goes flying over, he's just not there anymore. He's just noped right out of existence. But obviously, you're not paying attention to him on the first time watching this. You're caught up in the gravity of the chair being flung across the room. Oh, great moment though of tension that's been broken as we then start piling on the pressure as he starts ripping away the cymbals and the other drums so he can just stand right in Andrew's face and just yell at him whilst he tries to get this tempo right. The family dinner scene was great. The breakup scene was great. Started to show the cracks, I think, in Andrew's humanity, where we could see that he was stealing himself off from everybody and everything so that he could be devoted in his singular vision of greatness at the loss of everything else around him. Ian, do you recommend Whiplash?
Oh man, I cannot recommend fucking Whiplash any more than just wholeheartedly 122%. 22 just for extra. It was intense from start to finish, and I know what some people are probably thinking. They're like, look, you know, same like me, you're not probably a fan of intensity or, you know, being shouted at for all this time, but there is a magic to this film, maybe heart behind the film, between the director,
A truth?
yeah, well, just some films just have such a core group of the director and the main actors that they have the vision, and the vision just goes out. There's no argument, you know, there's no belittling, there's no messing around. There's literally just actors acting and a director directing, and everything just fucking works. And for me, Whiplash is one of those movies. J.K. Simmons is just phenomenal as this villain that you hate to love. And Miles Teller, I mean, I can't wait to see Miles Teller just get older and do bigger roles and greater things. And like Ari said, he should be fucking given so much more kudos as well for what he did in Whiplash as well, because he's your hero, but by the end of it, he's the villain. And you feel really bad. There's so many different interpretations, so many different ideas, and the music, mwah.
Yeah, I keep having to remind myself that this is an independent movie made on a budget of just over $3 million
Wow.
and shot in under 20 days.
Wow.
You know? And it was something that even the cast and crew said, like, they're used to working on multi-million-dollar Marvel movies,
Yeah.
and then they come and work on this where it's just like, got the take, move on, we got the take, move on. The director knew where he wanted the
Yes.
camera. He knew what lines needed to be delivered, and he was ready to just move on. He had the vision, and he captured it, and I think with the fact that this has come from a true story or
Yes.
part of his own
Yes.
history
Yeah.
that he's been inspired to work on, I think that what really helps build the foundations of this film. That there was that one vision, knew exactly how it was going to start and how it was going to end, and that is why, for me, yes, I'm going to be recommending Whiplash. It gets the highest recommendation for me. It's an absolute must-watch. It's also one of my favourite films of the last 10 years. I think it's a masterpiece in editing, storytelling, performance, and direction, and it's some of the best depictions of the horrors of obsession in film. The terrifying and intimidating Fletcher was perfectly portrayed by J.K. Simmons, delivering such intensity to the role, creating a complex and memorable character. Watching him work his craft is magic, coupled with a stunning performance by Miles Teller. The two leads are electric. They carry the scenes with such gravitas and humanity that you feel the abuse as an audience, and the drive for excellence to succeed and overcome the abuser. It might be a drama, but it often feels like a thriller or a horror film, especially with the escalating tension within its close-ups and the personal portrayal of obsession. The cinematography and editing is also perfect, capturing every beat, all the tiny details, the blood, sweat and tears is beautifully shot, and it has a great score that really supports the on-screen musicians, but it also doesn't alienate the audience that might not even appreciate jazz, and in fact, may have the opposite effect. The film has an ending that encourages conversation and debate. It's very rewatchable and relatable. The road to greatness can take you to the edge. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.